In this video we're gonna talk on which side of the airplane you should sit when you're either flying to or from London Heathrow in order to get the best views from your window so you can take some cool photos. Hi guys, my name is Michael Thomas. I'm a London-based time-lapse travel and architecture photographer, and this is actually a second video from this series about what side of the airplane you should sit when flying to a London airport. The first video was about London City Airport, so you can go and watch that video after you finish watching this one. Don't just skip like that. The link is in the description and there's probably going to be a card at the end of this video, so watch this video first and then you can check out the other one if you happen to be flying to London City Airport. I've done a lot of research when it comes to the potential direction that the plane's going to be flying to land or take off from Heathrow, which is based on the general wind direction that's in London, but also on some preconditions of why London's Heathrow has got a preferential direction in which they land and take off. But we're going to discuss that all in a moment. As in this point, I have to mention that I personally myself have never actually flown to or from London Heathrow, so this whole video and all the footage that I will show you from the airplanes is actually generated by you guys. As I was planning this series, and I've announced on my Instagram that I will be doing this first episode about London City Airport because I had quite a lot of cool footage of landing and taking off from this airport, I said that I have no footage from Heathrow. So then I asked you guys, my audience, my followers on Instagram, to send me any of the cool footage or photos you've had from landing or taking off from Heathrow, and you guys sent me loads of absolutely amazing photos and quite a few videos that I will feature in this video and show you guys what you can see if you're landing at Heathrow or taking off if you're sitting on the correct side of the airplane. But firstly, as in the first episode, I've made a map. Very simple one, so yeah, don't get too excited. London Heathrow, river, city, Canary Wharf. Amazing, right? And here's our airplane, our beloved three-piece Lego, because I just don't have any other airplane, which we will be flying, and I'll be explaining you why you should sit on one side, not the other. But let's start with the basics. London Heathrow still has the same conditions of wind, which is westerly, which is the first condition why planes should always land coming from the east over City of London, so you should sit on the right, and then from Heathrow they will be taking off towards the west. But also on Heathrow's website they actually gave one other condition why they will preferentially choose to always, not always, they don't do it always, but they say 70% land from the east and then take off towards the west. And that is because when the plane is landing, it doesn't use the engines and consume as much fuel to produce all the pollution. So when it's landing over London, it doesn't produce the pollution over London. When it's taking off, in here there's Slough, actually there's Windsor quite nearby, but there's not as much residential areas as over London. So when landing and not producing the pollution, this is preferred. If they were to take off towards London, towards the east, over the residential area, well, that consumption of fuel would probably cause quite a lot of pollution and CO2 and all sorts of bad things. So preferred is to come from the east and fly towards the west, landing and take off. This is why London Heathrow on the website actually says that at least 70% should be coming from the east towards the west. I've also had a chance to speak to some of my friends that are actually aviation fans, and they like to shoot planes, and they quite often go around the airports to shoot like really cool planes landing or taking off, and they told me, pretty much all of them confirmed that in summer it is more likely to be 50-50 that planes can come from the east or from the west. However, when it gets winter, it's most likely, due to the winds, 80% coming from the east and 20% coming from the west. So you always on a majority of, you know, strong percentage should count that you'll be probably coming from the east, which is great actually, because if we're starting from landing at Heathrow Airport, and we will discuss this as a sort of a first instant being you're a tourist, you're coming to London, which side of the airplane you should sit. Well, wherever you're going to be coming, at around this area, just underneath the city, this will be where all planes meet from whichever direction they're flying to go on the last straight towards Heathrow. So if you sit on the right, you're going to get this amazing view of the city, maybe even Canary Wharf if you're coming from the north and you're circling like this. If you're coming from the south, it will also circle, and just around the city, they all meet for the last straight line towards Heathrow. So you definitely should consider sitting on the right when you're coming to land at Heathrow. What happens if the direction of the wind is the abnormal one, the say 30%, and you're coming from the west? Well, if you sit on the left, there's not actually that much here. But if you sit on the right, which is the same if you were to count that you're going to be coming from the other side, you might actually see Windsor somewhere around here. So that's pretty decent, because Windsor is not far away from Heathrow. So sit on the right, you either get to see Windsor or you're going to see the whole of the City of London, which is absolutely an amazing flight. And I will show you this footage not long from now, where we're going to be looking at all the submissions that I've got from Instagram, and people sent me links to download original 4K files as well. So yeah, we're going to be looking at them in a moment. Now let's move on to departing London, the takeoffs. It's a bit more trickier. However, if the winds are the normal 70% and you're taking off in that direction, it still depends where you're flying. Say you're flying somewhere to the north, then you should sit on the right, because after taking off, it'll be turning and flying towards the north. If you're flying west, after the takeoff, it'll just continue flying off. You won't see any of London. If you're flying somewhere, however, south or east, after takeoff, it will go to the left. It will go south first, and then come back somewhere around between Heathrow and City. And if it's going east, then it will continue that way. So you should sit on the left. But if it's going south, it will round about here. You might see City a bit, then it will turn only south. So it does this circle and south, flying south, and then it turns south here. Because I went onto the Heathrow website, they've actually got slides that demonstrate that, so I'll show you them now. But this is the thing, if you're flying anywhere north, sit on the right in the normal winds. If you're flying south or east towards Central Europe somewhere, sit on the left, because you will still be a bit further away from the city cluster and all the icons there, but you still may see them, as in the example of this photo. What about if you're going to be taking off in the abnormal direction towards the east? Well, pretty much same principles apply. If you're going to be flying north, then sit on the right, because it's going to bank and fly north. If you're flying anywhere east or south, sit on the left, because you're going to take off, get to somewhere around here where sitting on the left you will see quite a lot of the city, and then it will go either continue going east or south. If you're going to go west, well, the bank's gonna be pretty quick and then will disappear towards the west, so you won't see much of the city. So this is pretty much it. So to quickly recap, if you're coming to London, definitely sit on the right. If you're taking off from London and going somewhere east or south, sit on the left. And if you're flying north from Heathrow, sit on the right. And that's it. Now let's have a look at some of the amazing footage and photos you guys sent me. Okay, here's a first photo by aka.Burnsy. He seemed to have been flying towards Heathrow and coming from the east, but he was sitting on the left, and the banking to the right to circle on the last straight seemed to have happened in between City and Canary Wharf. So when he was sitting on the left, he actually saw a little bit of Canary Wharf. So if you even sit on the left, it's not so bad, but later on he missed out on seeing all the cool London icons on the right. Wow, now this photo by Bright Icon, absolutely amazing. Sitting on the right while making the turn to get on the last straight and land at Heathrow coming from the east. You got a photo right above the Thames with the Tower Bridge, so prominent. Amazing photo. Next photo by Hore Anna. Wow, the colors, obviously everyone's got a preference, but just to see this, probably can just get the map back again just to explain you where this photo was taken. From what I can see, it was one of these flights that come over north, and then just behind the city they circle back to get onto this last straight. So as Anna was sitting on the right, this is the photo that you're seeing. Next photo by George Goldberg. Actually, we've got an amazing video by George that I will show you, and we will just go through in detail at the end. But these photos that you can see, I wish one day I'll have this kind of weather when I'll be landing at Heathrow. Next couple of photos by JOTZWT. Don't know where the flight was coming from, but the sort of photos start from around just before the city, when the planes like line up on the last straight to land from the east. Next set of photos by Luke27. Pretty much again, everyone who got the most amazing photos seemed to have been coming around from the north. And then actually this third photo, the arc that Luke27's flight was doing was from the north and circling even around Canary Wharf, so not between the city and Canary Wharf, actually just behind it, so that when he was sitting on the right, he saw Canary Wharf right from above it. How cool is that? Next photo by Maddie Tibbles. Maybe she got her phone out a little bit too late, but still a great shot just above the Nine Elms area, just past Vauxhall, somewhere around here. Again, same flight. Maddie was sitting on the right. This is where you should sit if you want to have these kind of photos when you're landing in London. Okay, let's just dump this because it seems like everyone's amazing photos were actually from roughly the same kind of flight. Next set of photos by Matt Avery UK. Nighttime photos. How I love nighttime photos. But you do have to have a camera, ideally full frame, with a good prime wide aperture lens like a 1.4. to be low on the ISO side, and Matt seemed to have achieved it perfectly when flying to land at Heathrow from the east again. Seeing that view at night times, wow, just absolutely amazing. A different flight during daytime. How do everyone who sent me actually had this perfect weather? I'm so jealous. Oh my god, and this last shot by Matt, wow. This is just amazing. So I'm guessing this was a flight coming somewhere from north east, so the turning didn't have to be this sort of 180 degree, so it was just a narrowing onto the last straight. Hence Matt saw a lot of Canary Wharf and the river just going beautifully towards central London. Amazing photo, and the clouds rolling in at sunset. I mean, you can just wish to have weather like that when you're landing at Heathrow. Next photo by MNDFLR. Yeah, pretty cool, beautiful, zero haze, perfect weather above London. Again, coming to London from the same direction, beautiful weather, beautiful views over Hyde Park, Buckingham Palace, amazing. Next up, absolute gems, nighttime photos over London by my friend Paul K. Porter. Beautiful photos, well exposed, no blurriness. Probably only kind of blurriness that you can see in these photos is due to the windows of the plane, but just the detail that you can see, London Eye, Houses of Parliament, all the detail in the city. Absolutely amazing photos. Wow, now just look at this set of photos by Petite Gibbon. Low fog, hanging around London and all the skyscrapers sticking out. I mean, I thought the previous photos that we saw were a dream, but this, imagine this. Yeah, the second photo was probably slightly different white balance or the filter for the color, but it's probably from the same kind of a flight coming from the north, circling around London. But wow, I mean, you guys keep surprising me because these photos are spectacular, one of a kind. Like, if these were taken with a high resolution camera, these are printable, sellable gold you can have. And even Winter Wonderland in Hyde Park in last photo. Cool shots. And last set of photos before I show you a couple of videos. These ones are by Razoliman, if I pronounce it correctly. Again, beautiful weather. I like that, for example, this shot has got a telephoto effect, so either been cropped or shot with a longer telephoto lens on a proper camera. Looks really cool. These are the sort of shots that you cannot get with a drone because you're not allowed to fly that high, not to mention that you cannot fly in London whatsoever because it's a whole central London is a no-fly restricted zone. So if you ever see any drone photos on Instagram and people saying, oh dope, fire, amazing shot, well, it's not, it's just illegal. So yeah, that's that. Fly an airplane to Heathrow or from Heathrow to get these kind of shots because these are truly unbelievable and way better than what you can get with a drone. First video is by my friend Dave, Mr. London on Instagram. He was flying again from East, landing at Heathrow. So he was sitting on the right and he saw London at night. And then the next shot is actually from a half a minute earlier when you're flying above Canary Wharf. You can see the O2. Just beautiful. I mean, I would love to fly probably more at even night time than at daytime, because at night any big metropolis just looks way better than at daytime with all the lights and all the colors. Next video is by my friend Henry. He was flying in the same direction, circling from the north and flying towards the east to land at Heathrow. He flew right above the city. You can see the Barbican Towers, all the city skyscrapers poking there. He was just above the clouds, and then when he got out of the clouds, you can see London Eye, Blackfriars Bridge, one Blackfriars skyscraper, and then Buckingham Palace and Hyde Park even at the top. How cool is that? Beautiful footage, and at the end you can even see Wembley there. Wow. And here's a plug for you to watch my London City Airport video, because at the end of that video I actually give tips how to make sure that you get the best out of shooting from a window at a plane. And one of the next video examples that I will send kind of shows why you should not sit on the wing, because it will obstruct either half or all of your view. So this video here by Global Viewpoints, maybe a homage to my account, shows that you could see Canary Wharf and it was quite alright, but the wing was blocking quite a lot. So my suggestion is always sit in front of the wing, because if you sit behind, you'll be blocked a little bit. If you sit on the wing, you might not see anything. But if you sit in front, because how the wings are angled, you might have the best view. And I've also been sent 2 photos of someone taking off at Heathrow and the view they had over central London. So I'll take the map to demonstrate where they were. And from what I can see in this first photo, they took off and they were flying somewhere here. So quite a bit south compared to the landing, which happens literally just above the river, right next to the skyscrapers. This is somewhere south around here, I think, scale-wise. But looking left, sitting on the left, so either flying east or southeast somewhere, you can still see quite a lot of London in this photo by superchair_SG, as well as in this next photo by Lewis with double L's, triple E, 2 W's, triple I's and double S. Yeah, that. You can actually see how much further south these planes fly when they're leaving London, but if you sit on the left, you still have an amazing view of pretty much everything from O2 Canary Wharf all the way to the London Eye in this photo. And the angle of this, I'm guessing, is a standard iPhone kind of a 1x, you know, the medium camera, which still is pretty cool, because if you had a longer telephoto and nice weather like this, you can still capture loads of detail. I also got this video by Mark Neal Photography. He was taking off from Heathrow but towards the west and then turning somewhere right, so you can see a little bit of Slough, but sitting on the right and sitting as well on the wing blocks quite a lot of the view, so I wouldn't recommend that. And depending where Mark was flying, if he was banking to the right, most likely he was flying further north, so he might have seen some of London later on, but I can see that in the video he had quite a lot of haze, so maybe that's why he didn't capture anything after. So 2 things we can take out of that: don't sit on the wing, and if you're unfortunate enough that you're flying, taking off towards the west, and it depends where you fly, follow my previous recommendations where I showed you the map. North, south, east, all depends where you fly, that's where you should sit. And lastly, I wanted to go through this video last because George Goldberg sent me a 5-minute live video from pretty much the city of London all the way to landing at Heathrow. It looks amazing. I've sped up a few bits, but we can just watch this video and you can listen to my commentary, what you can see in this amazing video, because he had like beautiful weather. So let's just start and go through it. He starts the video when he's flying right above Elephant and Castle. You can see London Eye and the river bending right next to Waterloo Bridge. We're getting closer to being right above Vauxhall. Beautiful weather, clarity of air was absolutely spectacular. Right now we must be literally above Vauxhall. We're starting to see Buckingham Palace. Even everything around the north of London is so clear. quick zoom in onto Buckingham Palace and the gardens, and then Hyde Park opens to us. It's just unbelievable. All of West London, Knightsbridge area, Royal Albert Hall, Kensington Palace. It's just a beautiful view and perfect weather. I could literally watch this video in standard motion, or even Earl's Court right at the bottom of the frame. I've sped up here a little bit because we wouldn't watch a 5-minute video. But yeah, you can see the river bending here. We're probably around Fulham, Hammersmith, maybe around here. Oh, even Wembley Arch pokes at the top of the frame. It's just beautiful. And as we're speeding up to land to Heathrow, you can just see everywhere we're flying above. It's just so cool to see this whole area in one long video. And I really like actually the shadow of the plane being constantly in the frame and just following us as it gets sort of closer and closer to landing. Absolutely amazing video, George. Thanks a lot for sending it over. And that will be it. So first, a big thank you goes to everyone who sent me their photos and videos. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to feature everyone in this video because this video is long enough as it is. But I picked sort of what I believe to be the best photos and videos that I could share in this video and sort of go through with you. Hopefully, you've seen the kind of footage you could get or the photos you can get. If you want to watch some more tips and tutorials how to get the best out of your photos from a plane, then watch my first video in this series, which was about City Airport, landing and taking off from City Airport, which side you should sit. And big thanks also to you who watched this video, who leaves a like, comments and subscribes for the kind of videos that I produce, which are about travel, time-lapse or photography or equipment that I use in my photography. And that will be it for this one. Guys, I'll see you in the next one.